Okay, we'll go on to the next one, which is Charlie. This is quite a recent song, is it?
Yes.
3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It was the I can't remember, the double centenary of Charles Darwin's birth. And Charles Darwin, I was brought up in a religious family, and so I was taught in a very fundamental way about, without sort of denigrating anyone's religious beliefs. I was taught lots of rubbish. I was taught that there was that Adam and Eve actually existed, and that Eve came from Adam's spare rib, and that this actually happened 2,000 years before the birth of Christ. So when I got a bit older and started reading books, and I sort of thought, well, how could that be? How can they find fossils which are millions of years old when the Earth only began 2,000 years ago? And so this, even though a lot of people think that the ideas of religion and stuff is irrelevant, this stuck with me, that there are still kids all over the world, especially in a lot of places in America. And over the years we learned that we would write songs. For instance, like Homophobia was a song that we wrote, which just sort of went out and is on an album or whatever and disappears. But then you get letters back from people and emails in small places, especially in places like the United States, in states with isolated communities. So there'd be like some kid in Idaho who lived in a farm community where there were 200 people who couldn't come out and say I'm gay or whatever. So we were getting these letters from people who were saying it's important that there are bands like you writing songs like this, because this is our connection to see that song on MTV or hear it on the radio is our connection to what's going on in the world, and it gives us some kind of power to do something, rather than them just being stuck in a world where all they ever heard was the top 40 again and again, which never goes into a lot of these subjects. So we decided to write this song about Charles Darwin, because Charles Darwin was basically the first known scientist to write a book and come out and say, look, the Earth and the way we live and our past and our history doesn't conform to traditional Christian fundamentalist ideas. It isn't about Adam and Eve. We go back a lot further than that, and it's science and it's reason and it's about knowledge, and that we all have to start rethinking the way we think about this. And there are still schools in America that teach fundamentalism, that reject the ideas of Charles Darwin and say that it's all rubbish, it's all a conspiracy. And I've been in America and listened to the radio station, the preachers and pastors on the radio stations over on the west coast of America, and it's quite unbelievable, the level of ignorance. But then you have to sort of think, yeah, these people, they have radio shows because they've got lots of listeners, and those listeners have lots of families, and so it's important for us to carry on writing songs about things like this. So we thought, let's just write a song celebrating Charles Darwin as someone who brought common sense into the world and sort of laid it out in a nice, simple way, scientific way that we could all accept, rather than it being about polemic and anger and argument. He sort of went and sailed around the world and made lots of discoveries and said, this is what I've discovered, it's quite simple, it's common sense, it's obvious, this is it. And it changed the world, it changed the way most people think. So we wrote this song, which we're not going to play a bit of. Do you have anything to add to this? 'Cause
no, absolutely, I agree. It's completely a celebration of science, reason, logic, all those areas. But obviously, with figures like David Attenborough that you see, that they're, this person is such a fundamental part of that. But it's a celebration of all these beautiful nature. So, it's not just about clinical reason. It's about understanding nature and how we work. So it's fantastic, yeah.
And that, that's especially when you watch what happened with the US presidency election. How much of it is to do with them, the candidates having to prove that they are good, solid Christians with Christian beliefs. again, which I'm not saying, I'm not commenting on whether they've got those beliefs, but I am commenting on the fact that that is such a powerful part of the media and of culture. So it's always felt it's part of our job to oppose that mainstream media, mainstream culture, in just about everything we ever did, but this was one.
And I would just like to add that it does, you know, it's because of that, it's going against the religion which kind of puts off what you do. You know, it says that, you know, it's whatever you've done in your life gets put off until heaven or hell or all these type of things. So it's really to make sure that you're focused on what happens now and around you, rather than something that may happen at some irrational point in the future.
And Phil, I think Phil's brother's a scientist, and we were doing this thing where we play gigs and we in different parts of the country, and we would often, if we played this song, we'd say, are there any scientists in the audience? And people in general, scientists in general, are reluctant to put their hands up because they fear that this was the joke, that they fear that they would be, it would be mocking and that would be taking the piss out of them basically for wearing socks and sandals and stuff. But we weren't. We were saying, no, this is a celebration of all those geeks and people in the audience that go away and actually discover this great stuff that the rest of us can use in daily life. And Phil's brother, who's a scientist, he was really happy, wasn't he, that we...
Absolutely.
Because he'd taken his sons along, and I think they were... I think he was probably wanting to prove that not all scientists are totally... are geeks, and so the fact that we were singing a song about him and saying, this is, you know, for Phil's brother, he was really happy. Look, sons, your dad's cool.